Okay, so welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast, Damian Hall.
Hi, thank you.
I should say, welcome back. This is this second or no, it's third time you've been on.
Is
Third
it?
time you've
Blimey.
been on. Yeah, I know.
Oh, your listeners will be properly bored of me then.
A repeat offender. So, so yeah, as you've already pointed out, I'm drinking tea out of a mug that says "Number One Mum," and behind me is a sign all about coffee. So I'm kind of all over the place today.
Yeah, I'm just. You need to pick a side. I think you can't sit on the fence anymore in these culture wars. You're one side or the other. And
Yeah,
I've got, for the record, I've got a cup of tea in my Arsenal mug.
which side of history are you on? Awesome. I appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy man, and I think it's serendipitous that I've got you on today because there's a few things that have happened over the past week in ultra running, and I just wanted to get your opinion on it. The first one is that yesterday we all woke up to the horrific news that Sycamore Gap is no more. I was wondering
Oh,
what are your how you feel about the felling of that infamous tree on that landmark.
yeah. I think it shocked a lot of people and has greatly saddened a lot of people because it was. I don't know. Is it fair to say certainly one of Britain's most famous trees? That's quite a broad thing, but probably I'm guessing, or for anyone who's run the Pennine Way, or hiked the Pennine Way. Yeah, I mean, in my mind, it was one of the two or three most famous trees in the country. Really old tree, really kind of symbolic. Obviously famous for being in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. But yeah, really, the Hadrian's Wall is a special part of the Pennine Way run, and that getting to that tree is a special moment actually, and it stands there. There aren't many trees on the Pennine Way. There should be. That those uplands are meant to have trees on. They've all been felled a long time ago, and that was one of the sort of almost remaining defiant trees. So yeah, really sad, and it seems to be an act of vandalism by a young person, which again is sad. I don't want to sort of jump on them too much. Who knows what's going on in their lives. But yeah, just really sad. It's hard to think of anything fresh to say other than it seems sad. But I think some people have made the point on social media, sort of it possibly is indicative of how we're treating nature these last few decades. I mean, it's yeah, trees are trees alone aren't the answer to the climate and ecological emergency, but they are part of the solution. And yeah, we need more trees, and it's always sad to see old ones,
Yeah,
especially felled.
it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's for everyone. I mean, I've until this summer, I'd only ever seen it in some absolutely amazing photos that the race photographers have taken, and people just general photographers up and down the country have gone and taken that iconic shot. And the first person I saw that posted about it was Wild Aperture. So I forgot his name now. Sorry, mate. Photographer from the Spine. He's gonna kill me. His name's gone out my head.
I know who you mean, but I forgot his
Yeah,
name.
yeah. And
You have
then
to get him on
his
as a.
photo with the stars in the background, it's just and I'd with not having done any of the spine route apart from like the sprint at the bottom and stuff, going up and doing the north in the summer, running along Hadrian's Wall, and I didn't know, I had no clue where it was, so I was it was half in my mind thinking at some point I'm gonna end up at Sycamore Gap, and then lo and behold it just appears out of nowhere, and I was tired, and I thought, do I need a photo of it? Do I really need a photo of it? There's the thousands of photos of it everywhere, but I was like, no, I need to stop and take this moment in and step down off the trail and actually get a photo and try and fit it in the frame. Because it's a big tree. It was a big tree. Yeah, it's really it's my I don't know about yours, but my Instagram feed was absolutely like just full of pictures of it. Like all yesterday, this morning, just every other post was somebody putting on a photo that they'd either taken themselves hiking it or running it. It just seems like there's a mass sigh gone out up and down the country about it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, if there is a silver lining, it's that we remember that how important nature is for various reasons, and we treasure it more and protect it more. Um, yeah, hopefully that's what comes out of it.
Yeah, you can always plant more trees. Trees, not teas. I almost said that wrong. It's trees, not teas. Yeah, that's the they've got it right. So on, while we're on the subject of that kind of thing, the other thing I wanted to get your opinion on is these single-use shoes that we've seen pop up.
Yes,
Feel free
yes.
to rant.
I mean, yeah, I guess the longer answer is, yeah, I brought out a book about a year ago called We Can't Run Away From This, which was, yeah, I was very troubled by my role in how much was myself as a runner contributing to the climate and ecological emergency, and where were the bad areas, the greater impact areas in our sport. And one of them was, well, there are two areas really. It's the sportswear industry and it's events, mass events. And the sportswear the whole sportswear thing is it's really confusing for consumers because, well, partly they're just constantly marketing new products out as saying you'll be faster with these products, or a better runner, or stronger, or prevent injury. And then, yeah, they're just making new stuff all the time. So there's an overconsumption crisis, and that underpins most of what's going on globally, overconsumption. And then there are, but at the same time, there are companies, and Adidas are very much included in this, who try and tell us they're doing the right thing by the planet. So Adidas were one of the first companies to include, or to claim to include, plastic rescued from the ocean in some of their shoes. And that, that sounds quite good, doesn't it? Turns out, a Channel 4 Dispatches documentary showed that there was very little truth in that. But this is what confuses people, because you think Adidas are the good guys because they're trying to do something like that. And then they bring out a shoe that they claim themselves. I think the exact wording is something like, for one race and, what's the word? Sort of, yeah, essentially a warm up or a acclimatization period. So it's literally marketed as throw it away after your marathon. And that's horrendous. The exact opposite of what we need to be doing. All these products are made from oil, from fossil fuels, and they don't biodegrade for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and they go into landfill or they're incinerated, both of which continue to add to the problem. And so we need products that are going to last. There's a separate debate about what materials these products should be made of, and that's ongoing and complicated. But for now, we need products that will last, and then bring out a product that deliberately won't last. And I think as the green runners, we just think that's horrendous, the exact opposite. And so, yeah, we sent them a sort of open letter. It went to them yesterday, and we, I mean, just protesting in the strongest possible terms that this is not the way forward and not a good message. We've got to get away from fast fashion, from consumer culture, from sort of use it once or twice and throw it away. That's what got us into this problem in the first place. So no, another rant. Yeah, this is going well. You're getting me a rant per question.
Two rants so far. We'll tick them off. It just like beggars belief, doesn't it, that a marketing team, someone in that marketing team should have raised their hand and gone, is this right? Should we be doing this? Surely.
Yeah.
Surely someone must have asked that question, like when they were discussing.
I'd be surprised if someone didn't ask that, but I imagine people with pound signs in their eyes or euro signs overruled them probably, and said, no, actually, let's make a splash, let's make some money, let's make some noise. So yeah, I mean, that they are currently the epitome. It's usually Nike who give us good examples of how not to do things in our current situation, but now it's Adidas who are the second biggest. For those who don't know, Nike are the biggest sportswear brand by far, and then Adidas are kind of by far the second biggest, and then most of the others are just sort of a lot smaller in comparison. But those are the two biggest brands, and they're behaving the worst. So yeah, we haven't really gone as far as to say we should boycott Adidas, but I mean, I think a lot of people make that decision for themselves and just think, well, that's not a company serious about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, it's quite worrying, isn't it? I suppose the good thing is that whenever these big companies bring out shoes and say, they're only good for X amount of miles, everybody just turns that on the head anyway and just runs in them for far longer than is recommended by the brand. And a lot of that is just, obviously, they just put that mileage limit on something to make you buy more of those shoes. But I just wonder, whether someone is going to take those shoes and prove that they can run 10 marathons in them, let alone one.
That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I almost have competitive, sort of very friendly, competitive, sort of trials with friends actually, and or almost how long can our shoes last? You know, I am sponsored by a brand, so I've got to be, you know, I've got to be transparent about what I'm saying here. You know, nearly all my shoes, well, all my shoes are from one brand, but they are all lasting for over 1,000 miles. Sometimes that needs a little repair on the upper, and also where I live, there's a lot of road actually. So most of my runs are a mix. There's a lot of road, but my, you know, yeah, the shoes I'm wearing are almost all. I'm trying to think. I mean, I put them all on Strava, and I'm quite careful with putting the miles. People can go and check. But yeah, they're lasting 1,000 miles. And then after 1,000 miles, some are done, and some will do a couple of hundred more. But that does depend on, it depends on body composition, it depends on terrain, it depends on your technique. So I've definitely got friends who say, no, my shoes don't last more than 500 miles, but most say it lasts more. And of course, that's cheaper for us as well. We spend less money. So yeah, I think brands have got to stop making things that don't last, and then, you know, and then telling us we need to, or just literally chuck them away after a certain time. Yeah, that's again one of the things that epitomizes what's wrong with sportswear industry, really.
So all testament to innovate for making long-lasting shoes. Little plug for
yeah, I mean, they're not perfect, but that's been something they've been trying to do for a long time, is durability. And it does. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to answer that question without sort of bringing in the bias of, yeah, I am an ambassador for Innovate. I was trying to be objective. I do think they do a good. They're not, you know, Innovate aren't perfect, and they would admit that. And there's definitely areas they can improve. They do hopefully. Well, they do have a good scheme coming out soon. I can't really say any more. But yeah, the graphene that they've brought into almost all their shoes now for the grip, it does make. I'm convinced now. You've been wearing graphene for probably 3 years. It does make the rubber last longer. It is impressive. But yeah, they're not the only brand. They're not the only brand doing good things. I mean, I must say, only one brand that I know of running shoe brand has said we will make less shoes, which is an incredible statement. I think, really, you know, it's an anti-capitalist statement, really, and that's Vivo Barefoot. Who, yes, I must commend them for being, you know, brave in that way, and really that's what shoe brands should be doing. I think is yeah, it's sort of refining their output. You know, are there really 20 different types of shoe we need? You know, it's probably 3 to 5, really, isn't it? And make those shoes really well that will last. And that's a solution for the time being, anyway, a midterm solution. But yeah,
great. So at risk of putting you into a ranting spiral, the next subject I was going to bring up was UTMB.
What are you trying to turn me into here? An angry old man. But yeah, why not? Yeah, no, it's good. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, so the Green Runners have had a really exciting summer. We're about a year and a half old now. We've got over 1,000 members. And yeah, there's a small group within the Green Runners. We call ourselves sort of the Actions Committee, or I think that's our name. I've forgotten. But we have online meetings and try and come up with, I suppose, campaigns, and we've done a couple that we've planned, and we've got some other ideas, but maybe nothing had really caused much of a fuss. Although causing a fuss isn't necessarily the aim, but actually two things came to us recently. Just came to us, you know, and that was the Adidas thing. But before that, our friends at Platform London and the New Weather Institute had launched a campaign called the Game Changers Sponsorship Pledge, and it's to try and get high carbon sponsors out of sports. And for those who are football fans, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely endemic in football. The biggest clubs are financed by fossil fuel states, high carbon states, high carbon sponsors on the shirts. Names of stadiums are high carbon, you know, organizations. I don't follow golf, but I know it's apparently it's totally changed golf. Separate leagues. I don't really understand it. I don't like golf, but it's, you know, it's they're heavily sponsoring cycling as well, things like that. So sports washing is massive. They're really putting their money into sports to try and distract us from the bad that they're doing in the world, and they're trying to say, look, we're doing good in the world, but obviously they're still doing, you know, 99% terrible things. And we were kind of looking around running and thinking, well, yeah, it's not really in running yet. It's or at the moment, we're a smaller world and they're not that interested. But then someone started pointing out that actually quite a few of the American marathons, the big road marathons are sponsored. But the Berlin Marathon just happened, where this Adidas thing happened, and they're sponsored by BMW. So I should say the definition of a high carbon sponsor, because you could debate what that means. Their definition, the campaign's definition, is fossil fuel companies, obviously, the banks that might support them, airlines and airports, and car manufacturers. Now, probably car manufacturers is the more borderline, the more one to be debated, but they put that on the list. And then, of course, UTMB, quite late in the summer, announced. I just noticed their Twitter name had changed. It was now called the Dacia UTMB, and I was like, that's quite. I didn't even know what Dacia was, to be honest. But they're a car brand who have made their name on making SUVs. And we were quite, I think a lot of us were quite shocked, really, that our biggest event, UTMB, absolute flagship event, actually is not just have a sponsor, but a headline sponsor, which changes the name of the event. So we, we were sort of, what do we do? We started a petition. We got people like Kilian Jornet and Emily Forsberg and lots of other previous winners, and people like Jasmine Paris, obviously, Beth Pascal, but even Lizzie Hawker, Ellie Greenwood, Dakota Jones, 15 to 20 elite runners, some of whom were running at the events this year, to sign, but also 2,700 at least. We're approaching 3,000 runners signed it from 60 countries. So it really took off, and we had 2,000 signatures within a week. And we were getting media coverage, especially in France, actually. And also US, and the Times ran a story. It's mentioned on the BBC website. So it really took off. And then actually UTMB reached out to us and said, okay, let's have a chat. What, you explain what your concerns are. So we've had two, I don't know if productive is the right word, but we've had two long conversations, frank conversations with them. And to their credit, they reached out and they're listening to us. And those conversations are ongoing. So that's been, I guess, exciting as a green runner to really feel like we're doing something, I suppose. But at the same time, you wish you didn't have to, I suppose. And the next thing is, actually, there are several, even the Royal Parks Half, I think, coming up soon. I don't really know much about the race, but I think it's a big deal in London. They have a high carbon sponsor, I think one of the banks that backs fossil fuels. So it is seeping into our sport, and it's something I think we've got to take a stand about and kick up a fuss and let them know they're not welcome, because it's not okay to. And especially the irony of the UTMB, and Dan Lawson pointed this out wonderfully, like the very product that the sponsor represents is helping to destroy what makes UTMB beautiful. The amazing scenery, and we'll. I think nearly everyone will have seen, hopefully by now, the pictures of the glaciers in the UTMB Valley and how quickly they're shrinking. So it's right in front of us. Like, if you wanted a place to see climate change happening, the Chamonix Valley is one such place. And yet the big race there is sponsored by an industry that is a big contributor. That was quite long and ranty. What's the next question? Hopefully it's like, what's your favorite color, or do you prefer cats and dogs, or dogs?
So do you think that UTMB are getting better at responding to things and listening to people's concerns? Because I know that there's been controversy over the years about like their policies on like deferring race deferrals for pregnant women, that kind of thing, and they're now sort of in diversity, that kind of thing. Do you think they understand that they've got to sort of keep up with the times and start responding to things in a proper way?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think historically, I mean, UTMB is let's just be honest, like it's an amazing event. I've done it 4.5 times. Lots of people want to do it, and understandably, and I don't think people should feel bad about wanting to or about doing it. Historically, I would say they've been slow to react to certain things, such as prize money, such as equal podiums. Certainly, that pregnancy deferral thing surprised me a lot of the time. I just remember thinking, well, that's of course you changed that, and it seemed to take 2 or 3 years. So are they improving? Maybe they are. I know they're having discussions with groups about inclusion and diversity. I know there maybe transgender issues as well. and yeah, they're having discussions with us. It doesn't necessarily mean things are, things have changed. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think credit to them for having the discussions in the first place. If an industry just puts up the shields, that's not that's a lot worse, obviously. So yeah, I mean, credit to them for listening at least. But I guess we'll see if they're now open to changing quicker. We'll see, I suppose.
I mean, I don't know any details about the deal or anything with Dacia, however you pronounce it. Is it like a one-time thing, or is it like a multi-year thing that's going to continue?
They understandably, they don't want to sort of go into too much detail with us. We suspect it's about a 3-year deal, so we definitely expect them to have that sponsor next year. But I guess one win might be for both parties, for both UTMB and the Green Runners, that they really consider whenever because they presumably say it's 3 years, they presumably have to start thinking about it with a year out, who's going to be the next sponsor. If they decided, okay, we won't have a high carbon sponsor next time, I mean, that would be some form of, I don't know if you call that progress, but that would be obviously better than staying with that brand or going with someone else high carbon. So that might be something. So yeah, we're determined to. We're assuming they'll have the same sponsor next year, and we'll make a noise again next year. So we'll see.
It's great everything you're doing with Green Runners. It's all very visible. Everyone can sort of see and keep up to date with it. It's you're doing good work. Keep it up.
Oh, thank you, Sam. I should say, I mean, I do almost none of the work. There's an amazing team of very dedicated people. I'm going to try and name some of them, but I'm going to miss some, and which is going to be horrendous. But yeah, Ellie, Nina, David, Darren, AJ. Oh no, I'm going to miss. Yeah, some people are going to be angry with me, but there's a group who are very dedicated and do the hard. I'm the one, I suppose, doing the easy work of talking about it publicly. They're doing the hard work behind the scenes. Martin does a great job as well, and 4 or 5 others. So yeah, thank you to them, and and their amazing work.
Brilliant, excellent. So no more controversial questions now. We're gonna talk about Tour de Gien and how that is how that played out and how you feel it went compared to last year and everything. What is on reflection? How are you feeling about it now?
Oh yeah, well yeah, great. It's very satisfying. It feels a bit like the previous year was an amazing adventure, but with a great deal of frustration. Partly because I went off route quite badly for some time. Towards the end, went very tired, and another runner was just convinced it was that way, and I was too tired to sort of trust myself, and I just went with him. So I had huge frustration from last time, and it reminds me a bit of the Spine this year, actually. That the previous year had been very frustrating. I'd had to retire from the previous Spine race with an injury. So when you go and repeat a race when there's a huge amount of frustration, and I was thinking back actually, and like my best run at UTMB was after feeling frustrated about the year before. So I mean, maybe I'm stating the obvious, but frustration is a huge motivator. So this year, I mean, number one thing was stay on course. Don't. But also probably the next thing was this old thing of sleep deprivation management. Try and manage it better, be more preemptive with sleep rather than waiting for that last desperate moment where you literally can't move for falling asleep. That's too late for me. I mean, some people can function like that, but I need to do it preemptively. I think I've learned. So it was very rewarding to go back, not make that same mistake, do the sleep deprivation better, although certainly still got pretty wobbly and it wasn't perfect. And then come away with a much better result. Somehow 16 hours quicker, which is I was pretty surprised. I think one thing I did differently there, half deliberately, but was I just spent more time running with other runners, and I think especially at night when you're tired, that's actually really pretty helpful. And then also, I don't know, when you're happy with how your race is going towards the end, of course, you're just a bit more motivated because you're like, oh, I want to keep this position, I want to try and get the next position, rather than last time where I'd gone wildly off course. I kind of thought my race as a race was kind of over, and you just sort of bring it in anyway. But yeah, I mean, above all, had a brilliant adventure. It's an incredible race. It's kind of, for those who don't know, it's kind of like it's kind of a spine, but in the mountains in summer, is a way to think of it. Not saying that's better necessarily, because we all love falling in a bog in the dark, but yeah, it's an amazing experience.
Because it's so it's 330 kilometers, 22,000 meters. What's that translate into feet? I don't know. I'm not good at maths. It's a lot. 72 hours. So you talk about your sleep deprivation. Then do you feel like you've sort of nailed that now with years and years of doing the spine and doing your penalty runs and stuff, or does it change?
I wish
every time.
I wish I had. It is a sort of almost separate project of mine to try and nail sleep deprivation. I mean, partly now because I've got a lot of athletes I coach who are doing similar races, and I want to advise them on this. And there's not much research. This is a kind of frontier, wild west of sport. So yeah, I've got a bit of a checklist, about 5 points that I run down in my mind of what to do. I think the first thing is, these races for me anyway are going to be probably 3 nights. Usually a first night is okay. Usually the second night is when things will start to go wonky. Now the big difference, so I need some kind of sleep in or around that second night. So, and I think sometimes when I've pushed it right through to like 5, 6 in the morning in that second night, that isn't usually great for me. So I'm learning. So the difference in the spine is you don't have many options. There aren't many aid sessions to sleep at the Tour. There are quite a lot. You've probably got a choice every 2 or 3 hours, really, which is a lot more helpful. So my tactic this year was to, on that second night, sleep earlier. Get it in before you feel really weird. Now, actually, I came to this checkpoint called Neil, and actually, there was a massive party going on there with they were blasting out AC/DC. It was about 9:30, 10 at night. And I had been really looking forward to sleeping there, and I thought this is perfect. And of course, then it like gives far from perfect. So I had to push on for another 2 or 3 hours to the next place. I mean, I took some caffeine and I stuck with 2 other runners, and that was okay. But I had the courage then actually to let the other 2 runners go from the next aid station. They weren't going to sleep, and I slept. And I was giving up 2 or 3 places. I mean, it's still only halfway through the race, so you shouldn't be too obsessed with your placings, I don't think. But that took, the previous year, I probably wouldn't have done that. I probably would have pushed on with them until I was a mess. So that took some courage and some sort of faith in my sort of strategy. But ultimately, I think that worked. And I did it again later on. Other runners decided not to sleep, pushed on, and I was like, no, I'm going to sleep here. And we're talking 15 minutes of sleep, but it does seem to make a difference to an extent. So for me personally, I need to be a bit more preemptive and try and sleep before it gets too silly. And then my checklist actually is kind of, well, the first thing is, are you underfueled? You probably are. So you're feeling wonky, tired, whatever. But first rule, have something to eat. Second rule, are you hydrated? So have something to eat, have something to drink. Number 3, caffeine. Now people respond differently. I think I'm a reasonably high responder to caffeine. I really rate. I mean, you've got caffeine gels, you've got Pro Plus tablets. I really rate. I've got some caffeine gum that's really effective. So that might be number 3. Number 4 is are there anything else you can do to sort of I'm trying to say this without it sounding like an innuendo, but stimulate yourself. So that could be running with other runners. It could be listening to music or a podcast or an audiobook. May even be, if you look at Stephanie Case and her, she's done the Tour and the Glaciers numerous times. She phones a friend when she's falling asleep. So there are various things there, and it's kind of up to people to find something that some people sing or recite poetry or talk to themselves, so it's something to keep yourself going. And it's almost a bit of a suck it and see, right? Let's give this 20 minutes. And then option 5 is, okay, you got to sleep. And sleep could be, for me, I've split it into 2 areas really. A full sleep would be 90 minutes. Yeah, of the basic science we know, we
Sleep
believe, and I'm
cycle.
pretty sure I've listened to you having sleep experts on your
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
Yeah,
90
90 minutes is thought to be a full kind of cycle, or it's kind of 10 to 20 minutes, which I call a power nap. And for me, I need at least 5 minutes to drop off. So if 10 minutes like isn't going to cut it for me, 15 is also a bit risky. I might actually not drop off in that spell. So I'll try and give myself 20 minutes, and in that spell I might sleep 10. But sometimes just shutting your eyes for a bit is helpful for a while, but not. And the longer the race goes, the less effective the short ones are, I would think. So in the Tour de Gion this year, I did have four. I lay down 4 times each time. I think aiming for 15 to 20. I'm not totally sure I dropped off every time. So I can't tell you how many. I mean, it was less than an hour overall. It may have been as little as 20 minutes overall. And I was still wonky at times, but I guess largely I held it together, and yeah, sort of secured 4th place. And I had 2 people chasing me quite close towards the end, and it did end in the morning. So that last night was quite important time. So I'd say I did okay with the sleep deprivation, but not perfectly.
Yes, it's a tricky old thing, isn't it? Trying to figure out that that kind of, because it's not really, it's not like training, is it? Where you train, you put in the work, and then your body adapts to it, and that's where you get the benefit. With that, it's almost like it's detrimental to your health, isn't it? To go without sleep. So it's almost like something that you can't really train for. You just have to kind of find out what works for you. And I know it just seems, my own experience, like in the summer doing Challenge North, like thinking that you can plan where you're going to sleep and have it like a schedule just goes out of the window, because it doesn't work like that, does it? Your body will tell you when it's had enough. I know I got to Bellingham, and I thought, I've got to have a sleep here, and literally got my like inflatable roll mat out in the tent, blew it up, lay on it, and thought, great, I'm going to get like half an hour here, and then I'll be good to go. Just lay there looking at the canvas of the tent, thinking, I'm not going in, nothing's happening. Nothing, even though I'd calculated that I was like, I've got to sleep here because I'm going to push on through this next night. And then it wasn't until I was up on the Cheviots, and I was starting to imagine things. I was like half awake, half asleep, like wandered off course, and then was cursing, trying to sing to myself, trying to keep myself awake, and just those cracks and fissures in like the earth that are just like when it's boggy, and it's just like a crack of brown. And I was just looking at them thinking, they just look so comfortable. They're just going to go and lie. And I was off course, and I was thinking, if I go and lie in one of these like bog holes, like, and I'm off course, the safety team wasn't going to be very happy with me. So I was like, I've got to get back on course, and got back on course over all these babies' heads, and was cursing them. And then just literally just like lay against the fence, sat up for like fully clothed, like with my bag on and everything against the fence, put my sunglasses on. It was about 6 a.m, and just closed my. And I knew that second place lady was sort of about 15-20 minutes behind me. So I was like, right, she'll wake me up. So if I go to sleep here, she'll definitely wake me up as she comes past. And close my eyes, and there she was. Wait, but when it worked, and it worked a treat. And you wouldn't think that like literally getting like 10 minutes leant against the fence on the Cheviots would be enough, but it is in that moment.
Wow. Yeah, no, that stuff, yeah, it can work, those power naps. It is amazing. It is amazing how they can work for a time. But that is what makes the spine hard comparatively, that there aren't many options to actually get your head down. And I've had that experience of, right, I'm going to sleep and not feeling that sleepy. I guess a couple of things you can do is you can limit caffeine beforehand. I mean, sometimes if you've taken caffeine on, even in the 4 hours probably beforehand, it could still be playing. I try. I'm reluctant to take painkillers, but sometimes I have woken up simply because my legs are screaming at me. And if I had a mild painkiller a bit before, I might have slept. But I mean, you don't want to get too far into that. But yeah, it's tricky, and it's part of what makes this stuff sort of intriguing, isn't it? And trying to master it. we probably never will.
What's your sort of plans between now and the end of the year, and obviously thinking ahead to the Spine in January? So we're now September, nearly October. What are you doing between now and the Spine race?
Well, yeah, really, really chilling at the moment. This is an off season really for me, because I did a sort of 100-mile B race in the summer as well, and lots of big training in the summer, and then Tour de G on, and that's exhausting. So really chilling. I mean, I am running most days, but yeah, not mega long runs. And I'm going to do a few, maybe even sort of 4 local sort of autumn trail races, which I'm really looking forward to. Just go and blast, sort of 10Ks and 12Ks, and just go and give it full barrels. Although, as I'll be 48 this autumn as well, so that those full barrels aren't as full as they were. But yeah, just switch up the running, really chill, do a different type of running, and then from probably November, really start getting more serious about spine prep. And December will be the big training really. So yeah, and it's
what do you do? What do you feel like? I was going to say, what do you have to do between now and the Spine? And what have you got? Certain things like certain long runs that you plan in that will get you ready for the Spine and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coached by David Roach, but yeah, he's coached me for the Spine twice before, so we sort of know what seems to work. And for me, and yeah, there'll be some back-to-back long runs. I don't usually go all the way up to Pennine Way because I know it fairly well now. But the Black Mountains actually much nearer me do have quite similar. They have the flagstones and the plateaus and the bogs. So yeah, there'll be some back-to-back long runs. Not epic, but yeah, some back-to-back, maybe 20 once or twice or something. And yeah, volume will go up a bit around December. It's just getting some of those big days in. But I don't know. I won't be sort of sticking the backpack on till right near the end of December. To be honest, I think it's a common mistake with spine runners to sort of stick the backpack on straight away and do lots of long runs, and that's just going to slow them down really. So yeah, I mean, we'll do normal training focused on improving economy, as well as these sort of short, fast local races, sort of September, October, bit of November, and then start to get more specific with the longer runs. And yeah, I'll look forward to them. I'll do some of them. I mean, it'll be mostly dark then anyway, but they're fun. They're fun days out. And then I guess part of the balance is trying not to impede too much on Christmas. And then I suppose also try and not let Christmas impede too much on your training as well in terms of festivities. But yeah, I mean, I've got in the habit of, this will be my 5th spine start. Yeah. So it's become almost normal now that you're sort of training quite hard in November, December, which I quite like, because it's harder to get out sometimes otherwise, isn't it? But you've got something. But things like the kit is great. I mean, my kit packed away from last year. I don't have to. I'm lucky that I don't have to think too much about that. If you're doing the spine for the first time, there's a lot to think about. Whereas I'm lucky I can, don't have to worry about that. But yeah, it still feels a long way off. And looking out the window, it's early autumn and
sunny.
Yeah, it's a sunny day for once, and it doesn't feel like spine weather yet. It's when it really gets dark and wet that you start to feel, oh, it's nearly spine time. That's the exciting time.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how you do with that. It's
will you be there again?
I'm not saying.
Will you be there again?
Yes, yeah, I'm actually entered into full winter spine this year.
Oh, brilliant!
So, because I had the good fortune, bad fortune to have my name drawn in the volunteer lottery to get a place, because a couple of years of working on the checkpoint and then working with the media team last year. My name was the last name to be pulled out of the. And Will had to call my name out, and I watched the video back, and he was like completely unfazed by it. And I said to him afterwards, like, did you when you read my name out, did you just like read the name and you didn't make the connection between me and working on the media team like I'd promised to. And he was like, yes, I was fully aware of who you were when your name was called, but I didn't want to show it on the video. My anger that you wouldn't be helping again. So,
oh wow!
So yeah, so all my questions about your training and everything, it's just me trying to find out information about what I should be doing between now and the spine.
Well, I'd say in terms of kit, the key one to try and suss out early is, what's the best shoe and sock combination for you?
Yeah.
Because if you get that wrong, it's a long way to have that wrong.
Yes.
But it's tricky right now because the conditions aren't like the spine. But certainly October, November, I think that's the big one. Obviously, your pack's important and you want a proper waterproof. But yeah, your shoes and socks, that could sort of make or break your race, really. So that's the one.
I had issues with blisters on the summer race because obviously the first night we ran into the rain, on torrential rain on the first night, and then it was sun and really warm for the rest of it, so feet just like got wet and then swelled. So it was like the perfect combination for blisters. But a lot of hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? And I got the book that everybody should read, Fixing Your Feet, Fix Your Feet. And I got that afterwards, realised that that's, shutting in the barn door after the horses bolted a little bit. But it's made me think a bit more about shoe choice and sock choice for the winter. But then everyone was saying to me, there's less instances of issues with blisters on the winter race because your feet don't swell. They're cold and wet, but they don't swell. Whether that's true or whether they're just trying to make me feel better.
Mine still do a little bit, but remember they swell sideways, but not hugely. But they were getting uncomfortable in the shoe. But people's feet are different, and it's hard to know until you do it. But it shouldn't be the same threats as you got in the summer. The truth is, I don't know, and I don't know about your feet. But, I mean, one of the things is getting things sorted early. If you get to a checkpoint, it's worth spending the extra 10 or 15 minutes, especially early on, especially someone like Hawes, and Middleton. It's worth the 10 or 15 minutes to get your feet seen by a medic. And definitely, I change my socks. I think even at Hebden, I change my socks every time. It's just worth it.
I think that's what I learned from the summer is that I thought I'd packed enough spare socks and I hadn't. So for winter, I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
I saw someone posted on the spine Facebook thing that they'd like use 16 pairs of socks. And I was like, wow. That seemed like an astronomical amount. And then I was thinking, well, I suppose actually, if you change them between checkpoints, then maybe.
I don't use quite that many, but I used a lot in the winter. Socks, maybe socks are the secret. Yes, don't skimp on socks.
It's a minefield, isn't it? All this kit that you have to get for these races. I've got to after this podcast, I'm collecting all my gear together to go up to the 13 Valleys race.
Oh wow!
So I originally thought it would have been a really good idea to do the full distance, the full 180, and then I realised as the summer's gone on that my knee isn't quite as happy as I thought it would be by now, recovering from the summer spikes challenging North. So I've dropped down from the full distance down to the 55k. So
okay,
nice run out.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to that. Should be right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and spending some time. And sorry for throwing all these antagonistic questions at you about ranty stuff.
Not at all. No, thanks for letting me rant.
No problem. Right.
Well, good luck 13 Valleys, and if I don't see you before, see you in January.
Yes, see you in January. Thanks, mate. See you.
Cheers, Sam.